This module underscores the importance of training personal assistants, or PAs, to meet complex needs, ensuring that they can excel in their roles. It also highlights the significance of sharing key information and documentation with your PAs to enhance their understanding and support. By providing your PAs with the right resources, you equip them to better assist you according to your preferences. Throughout the module, you will hear from experienced PA employers who offer valuable tips on how they manage this process and maintain regular communication with their PAs to ensure ongoing success. To begin, this module will focus on the key documents that are useful to share with your PAs, if accessible. Sharing this information ensures your PAs can provide the highest level of care and support tailored to your needs. We'll also discuss why it's crucial to keep these documents up to date for continued effective support. Additionally, Pathfinders offer a range of resources to assist with onboarding new PAs, helping to ensure a smooth and efficient process.
I suppose the key documents that you share with your PA are the ones that you think are important. So for me, for example, I don't have a particularly up-to-date care plan, but nor is that necessarily what my PAs need. So I guess, most important document that they have is a document with all of my medical information, medical history, emergency contact details, emergency protocols, etc. And it's really vital that they can always find that and that they know what the information in that is, because that's what they would need in a situation where I was very seriously ill. I think that's probably the only key document that everyone needs to make sure their PA has, which is some kind of information on what to do in an emergency, and that really does need to be up to date. Beyond that, I think it's a lot more individual. I have a to-do list program, and I have almost a Wikipedia type thing, which has loads of information for my PAs, which is, everything from employment policies to where in the house things live to what routes we might go on when walking the dog to what products they need to cover in a stock take. And those are all very individual things that I've concluded that my PAs need to know and that I find easier to have written down. But they're not really a document about my care and support as such. They're a lot more something more personal that I've created for the purpose.
I share all of my equipment manuals. I share my care plan, my house manual, my employee handbook, all the other policies and rules, documents, any training videos, any handover documents, all of that we keep on a Google Drive. Each one of my PAs get their own account. I open them up their own account, and then they all have access to the main documents and everything. It's crucial to share your documents with your PA as it's necessary for their job role. You can't expect them to meet your needs and follow the rules you have in place without telling them what they are. It's really helpful to share it with them from the beginning so that they can learn and understand what's involved, what their expectations are. It also helps to keep everything clear and can save time should there be any performance issues. Keep record of everything and keep copies of everything, and then it's crucial to keep things updated so that all your PAs know your needs, and again they know what their expectations are when they're on shift.
Kim Kemp shares her perspective on the importance of keeping her PAs well informed.
Because I think when somebody comes in, if you don't have a team around you, then it's just you and them. So it's good to, they might have the certain skills, but they don't know you. They don't know your routine. They don't know your likes or dislikes. They don't know what to do or what not to do. So you can't explain everything in that, but you can at least give them the kind of tools to understand you a bit more, your condition a bit more, and what you're looking for from them, and then hopefully they can, that they'll do the job. They've got the skills, but honing their skills as to how you like things done or need things done.
However, too much information can become overwhelming to some people, so it's important to think about when this should be shared.
When I invite people to interview, at that point, I give them quite a bit of background on me and my care needs, and I cover a bit more of that at interview so that PAs aren't surprised when they start in the role. Um, in At the beginning, they do training shifts. So at that point, we cover things like emergency information, and we also cover the kind of wiki I have, which has everything set up in it. And that way, they then know how to find other things. They obviously get things like their contracts at the very beginning, um, which is also helpful. But there's so much more information in the wiki that they can get at as they go and learn as they go. And then I think it's just about kind of following up, making sure people feel confident, and increasingly when they have a question, rather than me just answering it, me saying, well, why don't you have a look at the wiki and see if it's in there and get back to me, so that people become increasingly confident finding the answers for themselves. But I think obviously anything like emergency protocols, PAs need to know and be confident in before their first shift working on their own.
I would say, like, share it out. I mean, nobody wants to give somebody an information dump, like on their first day. So, the way I like to do it is that I like, if they want to go through it with me, I'm happy to do that. But if they want to go away and read it themselves, I like to make sure that if they've got any questions, they'll come and ask me. But I like them to sign things at the end, just to say, like, I've read this, I understand it, and and agree with it, so that we have a kind of contractual agreement between us that they're okay with that. But I think if you give somebody too much too soon, they might be, a bit like, no, this is too much information. So I think gradually let the, sort of in waves, to let them get the information.
Remember that not everything will be necessary or appropriate to share with PAs, especially if it's personal and private to you. They don't need to know everything about your life, so feel free to give yourself some privacy and allow yourself the space to hold back on some information.
I don't think it's necessary to share anything with PAs that you don't want to share. So if you don't want to share your care plan and you instead want to write out a version of the care plan that works for you and them, then share that with them instead. Um, in terms of what's not appropriate, it's not so much what's inappropriate for me as the practicality of it, and making sure that I'm not sharing so much information with them that they're drowning in it, and instead that they have the information they need to do their jobs. Because fundamentally, like, that's what they need, is to have the knowledge they need to do their jobs well, including in unexpected or emergency situations. And so it's making sure that they've had the information they need for that.
So my PAs are aware that I have mental health conditions, but that is as far as that goes. They don't know the ins and outs of my thoughts. They don't know the ins and outs of my therapy appointments. They know what they need to know to keep me alive. They know what they need to know for their job role. Anything to do with arguments with friends, or things going on between you and your friend, your partner, your family. They don't need to know those things. It's not a requirement to know that for their job. So I don't share those things with them, unless, of course, if we do hit crisis point and I have an anxiety attack, then sometime during that I need to talk through something. So they may find out something then, but they know that there's a firm confidentiality agreement and that can't go anywhere. They also know that if I'm having an anxiety attack and share something, that doesn't give them the right to know everything from then on. It just means in that moment I need someone to bring me down, to particularly bring my heart rate down. But yeah, I choose everything that they know and they know, need to know, even with my physical health, they know I need a ventilator, they know I need to have a peg, they know I have stomas, but they don't need to know the ins and outs of how that happened and why that happened. They just need to know that I have them, and it's their job to help me take care of them. So it's about being really clear. And yes, you do get friends with your carers. I do, PAs over time. And sometimes my girls that have been with me a really long time, they do know some things about the family. But again, they know what I choose for them to know.
I think you just don't need to overshare things. Once again, it's like, telling them too much and then you expect them to remember the thing you said 20 minutes ago. So I think whatever they need to know and is appropriate in their line of work, and nothing that kind of, goes over to the unprofessional side and the friends kind of side.
As your condition progresses and your needs change, it's crucial to communicate these changes to your PAs. This helps them adjust to your evolving requirements and ensures they are aware of any new training they may need. Supporting your PAs as they develop the skills necessary to meet your changing needs is essential for maintaining effective care. Jamie Hale and Charlie Walker share how they communicate these changes to their PAs, ensuring a smooth transition and continued high-quality support.
A good example of changing care needs might be that I recently got an ileostomy. So that meant that my bowel care changed completely. So what I did was I made sure that a couple of my PAs were really thoroughly trained in it, one before I left the hospital and one straight after, so that there were PAs that knew how things were done and that could train and show other PAs. But broadly, what I did was I told my PAs and then I trained them, because I've always wanted to be in a position where I'm really clear on how my care works, what my care needs are, how they're met, etc. And then I'm in a position where I'm able to train my PA. So even if I can't do something myself, I'm able to talk them through it until they understand it.
So as well as our Google Drive, which I deeply love, we use Google Calendar, obviously emails, and we use WhatsApp. So, for example, if there's a change on medication, if I'm on antibiotics, it immediately goes up on WhatsApp along with the detailed information about the medication and everything, the dosage and the times it's due and all those kinds of things. And then we also, once we get back to the house, the PA on shift will fill out a Mars chart if it's a temporary medication. And if it's a permanent change to a medication, I will update the medication list on the Google Drive. And again, all staff have access to that. So as soon as they come on shift, actually before they're on shift, they can see and they're up to date. And that's how I let them know. I would WhatsApp them and email them to say, girls, such and such documents being updated. Please could you go on a drive and read it? I give them an opportunity to ask me any questions if they're confused.
The onboarding phase is essential for new PAs to grasp your specific preferences and expectations. Employers can implement strategies to enhance their training and ensure a smooth transition. By dedicating time and resources to thorough onboarding, you help new PAs develop the confidence and skills needed to excel in their roles, ultimately leading to better performance and higher job satisfaction.
My new PAs get a range of training. So part of it is in training and shadow shifts. I tend to find it works best to throw them in at the deep end. And from their first training, which is obviously a paid shift, they're expected to do things themselves, to look for the answers in my kind of PA care wiki and to ask the other PA that's with them for answers, but that other PA is also asked to point them back towards the documents so that they really learn to kind of find the answers themselves. We make sure that they're fully confident with everything like medication, personal care, hoisting, etc. as we go. But the training is very much make a start and get on with it, because it's a kind of job where people have to be good at that.
For example, when I have my stomas, My PAs at the time were trained by the nurse, but after that, my mum, who's my team leader, and me was signed off. I can now sign off, and so can my mum, all my PAs on all everything to do with my stomas. So any new staff that have joined, me and my mum are allowed to sign them off. And the same goes with my vent and my peg. Me and mum are signed off as assessors, so we can sign off new people on those kind of things. I do access as much free online training as I can get. Skills for Care have offered training, obviously Pathfinders offers their training, and there's a couple of other organisations, so I've accessed them, but that's solely because I've looked into it.
I often say I do a free cookery class in here because a lot of cooking seems to be a thing of the past. So, and I mean, I like to do a health and hygiene. I haven't done a lot of them, but just health and hygiene around the home, because I think that's quite important as well, because everybody's standards are different. And I have done that a couple of times, but not all the time.
While all training is beneficial for PAs, it's particularly important for PA employers to focus on topics that directly address their specific care needs. Charlie Walker and Jamie Hale provide their insights on how to prioritise essential training areas to ensure optimal support.
Of course, moving, handling medication, respiratory care, dietary care, peg feeding care, all of those things are, the crucial, the most important. But I think something that can be a bit forgotten, and one of the things that's important to me, other than, the basic obvious things that you need for complex care, is for my PAs have common sense. That there is an essential training topic. A crucial thing for them to know is to know their boundaries, when to back off, when to give me space, when to intervene, when not to. Those two things are really, really important. And I think they get forgotten because most of the time we think, oh, obviously ventilation, respiratory care, suctioning, PEG, manual handling, controlled medication, all of that training is the obvious that I think a lot of us think about when we think about the essential training. But something that's just you can't really teach, and something that's just crucial is someone that has common sense, which therefore means they know and they can learn their boundaries. Is something I would say is crucial.
I think the training that your PA needs is completely different depending on your needs and the way you work. For me, it's absolutely crucial that my PAs have really understood emergency protocols and how to identify emergency situations, particularly because, for example, I'm on steroids and can have an adrenal crisis very quickly if I get, say, an infection. This has happened to me a number of times, and one of the symptoms of the adrenal crisis is that I may not necessarily be clear that that's what's happening. So I need to really know that they can identify that set of symptoms and they know exactly what steps to take in that situation. Beyond that, I guess the training that is crucial for you and your PA is a lot more individual. So for me, I need my PAs to know how to set up my medication, how to prepare and set up my tube feed, how to do all of the like bladder care, stoma care, all of that by like moving and handling, my physio, my hoisting, etc. But I also think it's really important for them to understand just how I live my life. And so that's a really big part of the training for me as well, is making sure my PAs know how I prefer to live my life, the ways I want to do things, just, I guess, my values and my approach and my kind of existence as a person. Because actually, if they don't understand that, they're really going to struggle to fit in effectively.
While employers may hope that PAs will remember everything from their training, this expectation is unrealistic. We all forget things from time to time, so it's important to provide support to PAs as they navigate their roles. Suggesting that they carry a notebook or use voice memos can be helpful strategies for retaining important information. After all, we're only human.
Being a PA is such a broad and diverse job that in many ways I don't think they're ever going to have fully understood and retained everything from training, however long they spend in training. And what I tend to say to them is, by the end of training, I don't expect them to have remembered anything I've taught them. What I expect them to have remembered is how to find out the things that I've taught them. So they know where the step-by-step guide to my medication is. They know where to find the information on which hoist slings we use for what and where. And they also know what to ask me and when to ask me and when they would need someone else to step in. And over time, they become more and more confident and quicker at doing things. And then it's just a case of really being observant. And if something's not being done quite right, catching it as early on as possible, because it's a lot easier then to support someone to do it differently than it is to do that when they've learned it really wrong over an extended period.
Regular check-ins are vital for fostering a supportive environment, especially during the onboarding process. These check-ins can be conducted in both formal and informal settings and are crucial for ensuring that new PAs feel supported and understood. Here are some effective strategies for implementing check-ins.
I think it's crucial to build staff retention and to build a sustainable team. It's crucial you are always checking in with your PAs on a regular basis. I mean, a weekly basis. Check in with them, check everything's going okay. Also, check in if their family life's all right, because 9 times out of 10, they're messing up at work because they're stressed out at home. So at least if you know that's what's wrong, you can sort of give them a bit of grace for a bit. Obviously, if it's gross misconduct, then that's different. But if someone's just forgetting to do something for a few weeks, you can let it slide. And if it becomes a permanent thing, you'll be like, right, this needs addressing. But it's really crucial to build a strong working relationship where you both understand each other, that they're giving you the support you need, but equally you're giving them the support they need. We have a responsibility as employers to take care of our staff, and we have a responsibility to provide them with everything they need, just like they provide us with everything we need.
I've had PAs now for probably 13 or 14 years, and it's usually gone well and it's sometimes gone wrong. And 80% of the time, if it went wrong, it's because we didn't deal with things when they were a small problem. We waited until they were a big problem. And if you have just kind of casual checking in as you go about your daily routine type things, that makes it very easy to deal with a smaller, oh, could you do this a bit differently next time? But that also doesn't leave space for discussing things that could become a problem without calling a formal meeting and bringing it into that process. So having regular check-ins just allows you to say, hey, it's going really well in lots of ways. I really appreciate how proactive you are in making sure that all of the med stuff is organized. But I've noticed that you're 5 or 10 minutes late to all your shifts. Would you be able to get on top of that and make sure that you're coming in on time, or it has a real knock-on effect for the person that you're taking over from? And you don't necessarily want to start a process about absence and lateness, but you also don't want to just be like, "Ah, never mind," every time. So having regular check-ins creates a space where those things can naturally be brought up, rather than you having to decide it's become a big enough issue to bring it up properly.
There are various techniques you can use to check in with your PAs, and these don't need to take up much of your time. Even a few minutes of regular communication can make a significant impact. Charlie, Jamie, and Kim will share the techniques they employ to maintain effective communication and support with their PAs.
So on a formal basis, I email my staff every 1 or 2 weeks. I hold supervisions every 2 to 3 months. Well, actually, my team leader does those. My team leader does those because if there's an issue that the PAs are worried might make me anxious, they can talk to my team leader, who can then talk about it with me rather than them coming at me and me getting a bit anxious. We also do our big appraisal, and we do regular casual conversations. I always check in with my girls every few days. I'll just check in, like, just casually, like, you're right, is everything going on all right? Having a combination of formal and informal means I'm hopefully targeting all types of people. Within my team, I've got very different team staff members, and my girls all need checked in in a different way. So some of them like their supervisions for it, some of them like their emails, and some of them like their casual conversations. And by offering all of them, I'm making sure I'm accommodating their needs. But also, they're all very convenient ways for me to do it. So it's not like, oh, another thing to do in my to-do list every day. So I think it works for them and me.
The method I found that works best is just to have a regular 3-monthly check-in that happens outside of shifts. So it's not when I'm dependent on that person. It's happening, say, over Zoom when they're not at work. Do I do that? No, because I've got 8 or 9 people on my team and I never get round to it, and I always regret this. So at the moment, it's mostly casual conversations. Anything that's serious, that's about shifts or shift changes or anything like that, I only deal with by email. That's to make sure that things are all findable and that I don't get mixed up and they don't get mixed up. But honestly, I think a 3-monthly 15-minute Zoom genuinely is the best way. I'm just really bad at taking my own advice.
I want them to realise this is like a formal, informal chat is kind of what you make it. Like, it has to be done. It needs to be done for both of us. So I want them to feel comfortable to talk and not feel like it's very, formal. And I just think checking in like that, because for me, the minute I put a date in a diary and we're going to do that, something for me makes it not work, or something for them.
This module has delved into a range of valuable topics and techniques. Our experienced group of PA employers has generously shared their insights to support new PA employers and those seeking to enhance their care teams. Here are some key strategies highlighted in this module. Structured training programs, documentation and resources, regular communication, adaptability and training, emergencies. Incorporating these strategies can help ensure that your PAs are well prepared to meet the complexities of their roles and contribute positively to your goals.